global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned.
Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. There have been red flags everywhere concerning the issue of debt portfolio we have as a country called Nigeria, and the fact that we may likely not come out of this debt. We may likely be looking at losing all of our assets, judging by the way our budgets are being run, and the fact that we may likely not have much money to finance or even finance our expenditure as time goes by. Informations are beginning to spring out, and the fact that we may need to keep borrowing to be able to sustain our expenditure, which means the way it is going, Nigeria is actually in a big mess. But before we go to the news proper for the analysis, we do like you to subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button and the bell notification icon to get both subscribed and notified as soon as we update our channel on YouTube. Well, the federal government has spent 97.5% of its January to May 2020 revenue on debt servicing. According to the 2021 budget call circular published by the Budget Office, the federal government generated total revenue of 1.62 trillion naira out of the 2.62 trillion naira budgeted or projected for the period. During the 5-month period, 1.58 trillion naira was spent on debt servicing, representing 97.5% of the 1.62 trillion naira revenue generated. In June, the International Monetary Fund, that's IMF, projected the debt servicing will go up all of the federal government revenue in 2020. Now that is fearsome. According to the document, the federal government spent a total of 3.98 trillion naira within the 5-month period. 1.79 trillion naira was said to have been released for non-debt recurrent expenditure, including salaries, pensions, and overheads. A total of 378.85 billion naira was released for capital expenditure during the period. A breakdown of the revenue generated showed that 701.6 billion naira was realized as oil revenue, while non-oil tax revenues totaling 439.32 billion naira, which is about 65% of revised target. A total of 213.24 billion naira was generated from companies' income tax, 68.09 billion naira from value-added tax, and 158 billion naira was realized from customs collection. The 2020 budget had to be revised after crude oil prices fell on the back of price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia, and the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted global supply chains. Between January and May period, the federal government incurred a total debt of 2.35 trillion naira. The revised 10.8 trillion naira 2020 budget includes a 4.98 trillion naira deficit, which is to be mainly financed by borrowing again. This is sad. But before we go into full analysis, let's quickly feel the pulse of Nigerians over this. We are in this together. We need to find a way around this. Because if this goes on the way we are doing, financing budget with borrowing, I'm afraid all the loans we are collecting from China, our assets is at stake here. Our lives is at stake, our assets is at stake. I don't know why we keep doing this, but the way it is, all the looted funds, if they are not recovered fast and we find a way around this, why are we still talking about probing? We should be looking at recovering all those monies and putting them in the appropriate quarters. But let's feel the pulse of Nigerians over this. This one here is saying, I am sure the cardinal job of the Minister of Finance in this government is to look for countries and organizations that Nigeria can keep borrowing from. When she finds any, it gives Buhari so much sweet sensation, while the Senate President is on standby like a guy to knock emergency approval. Very clueless, I tell you. This one is, oh yeah, now let us go. This one here is saying, imagine using 97% of your hard-earned IGR chunk to service debts. Look inward to generate revenue. They say no. All the generated monies have been embezzled. Now Nigeria is servicing debt. Debt servicing is not debt payment, and that is true. Hard as it is. That's the hard truth. We are in a mess in this country. Honestly, it will take the grace of God to take us out of this mess. And we need to get a government who will truly, honestly, truly probe in corruption, and bring out every illegality and ensure that every corrupt leader is brought to book and all the looted funds recovered as quickly as we can. Or else, I don't know if Nigeria will still remain a sovereign state, the rate at which it's going. Maybe they will take Nigeria in pieces if something is not done very quickly. But let's continue. This one here is saying, so that people can understand properly. Visually, all the money Nigeria generated as revenue, that's 97%, was used to pay interest. As in, not the debt itself, just interest. Not the principal or on the existing loans, just the interest. The principal loan that you collected is still there untouched. You are servicing the interest alone, which means you are still fully indebted. Let's continue. While whatever money Nigeria used to pay salaries and maintain itself, that's recurrent expenditure, plus the messy infrastructural project, that's capital expenditure, in the last 6 months was actually borrowed, which means all these federal government workers, state government workers, get ready, they will still owe you salaries. In as much as Nigeria doesn't even have a way of generating for, we are in for a mess. Let's continue. In the next 6 months, Nigeria will be borrowing money to pay interest of the loans that are already piling up. So they need to keep looking for money they can borrow to keep servicing interest on loan, not the loan itself. Which also means they will still need to go looking for money to pay salaries for federal and state workers. Pensioners are in for it too. Let's continue. Say, and of course, we are getting ready to even borrow the highest single loan in the country of $31 billion. Nigerians, maybe all the countries of the world will just be taking Nigeria parts in parts with the way we are borrowing, and we may not likely service the loans. Let's continue. These persons who sat idly back or supporting as Buhari and his likes destroy whatever is left of our country, Nigeria will be damned for all eternity. It's a serious one. This one here is saying, I wonder what the so-called National Economic Team is advising the government, especially with this chronic debt pilage spray it has embarked upon. Right now, it's actually a helpless situation because there are no monies. The monies that have been brought in, they've been looted. Now there's no monies anywhere in the economy, so they need to go and borrow again, and the loans are still there. Honestly, I don't know who have done this evil to us. I don't know. Let's continue. This one is, of course, this administration is one of the incompetent I've ever seen. When it comes to economic matters, they are illiterate. They are experts in borrowing. This one is saying, and add that to the dumb followers and tell me the answer you get. This one here is saying, it's high time we remove borrow from our dictionaries and replace it with Buhari because you can never see borrowing. This is serious. This one here is saying, soon federal government will have to borrow to pay interest on loans and to pay principals. Critical government infrastructure have to be sold to the creditors. We have already started borrowing to even pay interest on loan. That's reservicing. That's servicing of loan. Very soon, if that 7% already is used to service the loans, which means in 2020 we may use the whole of 2020 budget. That's remaining from June to end of December. We may use the whole of all we have to service the loans. Eventually, we still need to pay the loans off. So, which means we need to go and borrow money again to service loan and pay recurrent expenditure like salaries, pensions, and the rest. Then also pay a little part of the capital, and those loans we have also collected will not be. It's going to be one huge mess. Oh, I pity my nation. I don't know how we got to this, how we got here in this mess. It will take God. I don't know how we're going to do it. But let's continue. I wonder why we don't have real economic experts in that team, because they should have brought in experts on the team to help us out as a nation. Let's continue. This one here is saying, let FG give us the breakdown of how they spend 97% of the revenue on debt servicing. This one here is saying, Nigeria is gone. This one here is saying, this is what is already going on. So-called internally generated revenues are now being used to service debt, while plutocracy of borrowed funds continue unabated. P&ID debt is about to be enforced. Government is in a deep shit with this government. Nigeria is in a deep shit with this government. That's the same thing that happened also. There's this current one they also had where Galactica yacht is also almost being impounded, that's one of our foreign assets that Recurrent Aaron, yes, Aaron company, that's power holding. Also, something that happened, something similar to P&ID happened also, where we may likely be losing that particular international foreign asset to that company due to negligence, to something like this. All on all sides, we're losing it. I don't know how we're going to get out of this mess, but let's just take this final statement and we'll just wrap it up. This one I say, you guys don't get it. It is legal to borrow and transparent to service debt, but illegal to launder money. The same finance minister that lectured us the advantages of paying off our debt came back in the following government to teach us the advantages of borrowing at low rate. But that's how we're going to wrap it up. Let's meet in our comment section. What's your take and your stand? Do you honestly think there's future as a nation called Nigeria? Let's interact in our comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for more updates on these